Good morning, buenos días, buenas tardes, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our Hispanic Heritage Month event sponsored by the Center for Minority Veterans and VAHA, the VA Hispanic Association. I have some ground rules that I would like to read to you today. If we can lower the music a little bit, that would be great. Awesome. So before we get started, let me just introduce myself. My name is Monica Rivera, and I am the Chief for Stakeholder and Organizational Change Management for the Veterans Benefit Administration here at the VA. I'm also the Vice President for the VA Hispanic Association. It's definitely an honor to be here with you today. I have some ground rules that I want to share with you before we get started. First of all, this event will be recorded, so please note that it will be recorded for documentation purposes. The recording will be made available to all the participants after the event is publicly available to be shared. By attending this event, you acknowledge that the session will be recorded for future viewing. We will have closed captioning for those that need it, and those will be only available in English. Please note that through the event, you can also use the chat box to interact with presenters and participants. So feel free to share your comments, insights, or helpful information. Our presenters will be monitoring the chat and will engage with the participants as needed. On behalf of the Center for Minority Veterans and VAHA, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate your participation and your attendance. Please know that your engagement is valuable, and we look forward to a productive and insightful session today. So let's get this event started. I have the great honor to introduce to you Mr. James Albino, who will be conducting our opening remarks. James is the Executive Director of the Department of Veterans Affairs Center for Minority Veterans and serves as the Principal Advisor to the VA Secretary on the adoption and implementation of policies and programs affecting veterans who are minorities. Mr. Albino, a Navy veteran, previously served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Mr. Albino, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. The floor is yours.
Mil gracias, Monica, and buenos días, buenas tardes to everyone that's on the call. Really appreciate that you're taking time out from your busy day to be with us today and learn a little bit from our speakers. This year we're approaching it a little bit different in that we're bringing a fresh perspective of people that support the Hispanic Latino community. So you're going to hear from government officials with the Honorable James Rodriguez, but you're also going to hear from Silvana Montenegro, who is the head of Advancing Hispanic and Latinos at JPMorgan Chase. And in addition to that, we have the great opportunity to learn a little bit more about our culture and the foods that we all enjoy. And so we're going to have a food demonstration later on. And an important message from Dr. Rivas in Puerto Rico, who you may have, for those of you that working at the VA, you may have read a piece that was in the VA website a couple of weeks ago about the Olympics. So back to you, Monica. I hope you guys enjoy this event. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. Albino. And now, please join me to welcome the Honorable James Rodriguez, who is the U.S. Department of Labor's Assistant Secretary for Veterans Employment and Training Service. He is responsible for preparing America's veterans, service members, and their spouses for meaningful careers. In this capacity and in fiscal year 2023, over 2,400 Department of Labor Veterans Employment and Training Service staff, contractors, and grantees serve more than 430,000 veterans and military spouses across all agency programs. Mr. Rodriguez is an executive leader and proud veteran with more than 30 years of service in the U.S. government and corporate sector. And he also has 21 years. He also spent 21 years in the United Marine Corps. He possesses a comprehensive background in program management, interagency collaboration, and policy development. He also has an extensive senior level experience building and managing multi-million-dollar budgets and large, diverse teams while meeting the expectations of the presidents of the United States and large corporate enterprises. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I know we are going to show a video on Department of Labor first, and want to make sure that we can get that video started, and then I'll go into Mark's right after that.
Stand by as the video loads. Give me one moment, please. Apologies to all viewers. There was technical difficulties on my screen with I'm trying to share. I'm going to try this one more time. Stand by.
At the Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, our vision is to enable all veterans, service members, and military spouses to reach their full potential in the workplace. In the past year, DOL Vets helped almost 500,000 veterans, service members, veteran and military spouses, and employers looking to hire and support veterans. We did that by preparing America's veterans, service members, and military spouses for meaningful careers, providing them with employment resources and expertise, protecting their employment rights, and promoting their employment opportunities. Our priority is to get the military to civilian employment transition right, leverage our partnerships to maximize employment outcomes, and promote and advance equity, inclusion, and accessibility for underserved communities in the veteran space. When you think veteran and military spouse employment, think vets.
Okay. Hey, well, listen, thanks for having me on again. This is my second year with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to my fellow veterans who are joining the call. Since we're talking about Hispanic Heritage Month, I wanted to give you a brief overview of what the Hispanic veteran landscape looks like. You just got a synopsis of what we do at Department of Labor, but I want to give you some statistics specifically on the Hispanic veteran community. So right now, overall, we are doing well with regards to veteran unemployment. Vets has a 3.0% unemployment rate compared to non-veterans at a 4.0% unemployment rate. For our Hispanic community, our Hispanic veteran unemployment rate is 3.5% compared to 4.8% for our non-veteran Hispanics. So that is good. However, some of the challenges we consistently have is that we need to get these veterans into good careers post-military service. The beauty of that is that we are creating a pipeline that has grown over the last decade of military service. The Hispanic community has served honorably and faithfully since the Civil War. Let me rephrase that. Since the Revolutionary War, all the way up through the Civil War, where a lot of people who live and work in Washington, D.C. do not realize that Farragut Square was named after Admiral Farragut, the first four-star admiral to be of Hispanic origin. The beauty of that is if you look back at his history of service, it actually started when he was aged 9 years old, and at the age of 12, he was commanding a ship. You look at his illustrious career throughout the time of the Civil War and post-Civil War, the impact he made on American society and the future of our country based off of his military service. So when you look at that, and you look at our enlisted population right now, they make up 16% of the overall population of service members who are currently serving on active duty. Roughly 8% of officers in the active duty military right now are Hispanic as well, 2% general and flag officers. So we know we have a lot of work to do, but we've done better over the last decade with growing our numbers. Interestingly enough, Hispanic women are the largest areas of growth in the military service. So Hispanic women are serving at a higher rate and continuing to join the military at a higher rate than Hispanic men. However, we are seeing a good amount of increase overall. And right now, the Marine Corps has our largest amount of Hispanics serving, as well as the Army following second. The Air Force has the lowest amount of Hispanics serving. The reason that's all important, when I talk about the pipeline into employment, we want to make sure that our Hispanic community, just like anyone else who serves in uniform, has the opportunity to have good career growth post-military service, whether you do 4 years, 20 years, or 30 years. We want to make sure that you can enter the workforce and utilize the skill sets that you developed in the military, in the corporate workplace. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have some challenges, though. When we look at opportunities for climbing the corporate ladder post-military service, we still have a lot of work to do there. That's why I'm excited to hear from the leader from JPMorgan Chase and her speaking about how her career progression has really evolved over the years. When you look across the landscape, though, as I mentioned, we have challenges because of the fact that there's not a lot of opportunity to growth at more senior ranks in corporate America. One of the biggest areas that we have to continuously focus on is our Hispanic women, who have the highest percentage of not achieving senior level roles in the workplace. And so what we want to do is put resources and efforts to mentor those young men and women who've served in the military and help them be set up for success post-military service and ensure that they can create that continuous generational wealth, which we know leads to generational health, especially for our veteran community. So in partnership with the Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Labor, Veteran Employment Training Service, we do a lot of work at the local level, state level, and the federal level to ensure that our veterans understand what resources exist to support them from a VA perspective as well as a vet's perspective, so they get the best of both worlds. They get the benefits, they get the healthcare, and then they get the employment resources to support them in their next career endeavor. We know that ensuring that our veterans find career opportunities, whether it's in government service or small businesses or large businesses, there are specific resources that they need to help support them. And so our organization is geared to do that. We've just hired a new state director in Puerto Rico, for example, and he is going to do a phenomenal job there with aligning our resources where we've had challenges with employment. And Puerto Rico has the highest unemployment rate right now for our veteran community at large. And so we're actually addressing that in a proactive manner. And we have a brand new state director who's going to continue to do great work there, working with our veteran support organizations, our military support organizations, and then the community. And we want to do that around the country. We want to ensure that the country is able to support the veteran population writ large, but at the same time, we know that so much of what we do as a Hispanic community revolves around the family and the community. And that's what we do as veterans. We want to make sure that we still take that mindset and put it to use after military service. And so that's why I'm so proud of my team at Department of Labor Vets. And I'm so proud of the work we do with the Department of Veterans Affairs because of the fact that it does take a village when someone is transitioning out of the military and they are becoming a veteran after their years of active duty military service or Guard and Reserve, when they're still part of the community and they're still part of the employment community as well. We want to ensure that they feel like they are being taken care of as well. And at Department of Labor, we've expanded our resources so that way we can encompass more of the Guard and Reserve community. And then finally, if I wouldn't say this, then I would not do my job well I want to make sure that we are also taking care of our military spouses. We know our military spouses are so critical to someone's military success when they are indeed married, and we want to ensure that they have the resources to support them in their own careers after the active duty stint or from the time that they are supporting their Guard and Reserve members. We want to ensure that they have the same opportunities for career progression, post-military service, just like the veterans do, because they rightfully serve right along with their veterans. And so with that, again, thanks for the opportunity to come and chat with you all a little bit. I think it's inherently important for us to really celebrate the progression we've made on the active duty side of growing our Hispanic community in the military, but then taking care of our Hispanic veterans when they separate from active duty service, because it is indeed a calling and it's something that doesn't stop once we actually take off the uniform. And as I tell my team, we never fully take off the uniform. And that's exactly why I think the Department of Veterans Affairs is specifically suited to continue that lifelong support of our veteran community. And you're always going to be a veteran a lot longer than you ever served on active duty. So having these type of resources to support that in any capacity is inherently important. So thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak today. It's indeed a pleasure to always come and share a little bit of what we do at the Department of Labor and reinforce the fact that we are strategic partners with the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Thank you for that, James. I have a comment and a question.
Sure.
When we held this event 2 weeks ago with Secretary of the Navy, he informed us that 1 in 4 Marines are Hispanic, of Hispanic Latino origin. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Yeah, one of the challenges that we have, though, I will be the first to admit, is that we have to grow our Hispanic officer ranks. And I think when you look at the ratio between enlisted to Hispanic, we have a lot of work to do there. And I know Secretary Del Toro very personally, and he has been focused on that and across the Navy and the Marine Corps. But I think across the Department of Defense, there's been a concerted effort by senior military leaders to get more Hispanic officers in the ranks.
Great, thank you for that. And then, did you say that female enlisted in the service, Hispanic Latina female enlisted in the service outpace male veterans? Male?
Certainly, yes. Right now, we have more women, Hispanics serving in the military and joining the military at a higher rate than our Hispanic community, or Hispanic males. I'm sorry.
Great, thanks for that. Monica, back to you. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Next, for our next speaker, we have Ms. Silvana Montenegro. Ms. Silvana is the Global Head of Advancing Hispanics and Latinos at JPMorgan Chase, where she leads a strategy to advance the unique needs of the Hispanic and Latino communities, both within the firm and externally, as part of the firm's commitment to uplift all communities. Silvana brings a wealth of experience from her leadership roles in the U.S. and Latin America, including a proven reputation of empowering leadership teams and individuals to reach their full potential. Silvana has been recognized by Latina Style as one of the top 12 high-ranking Latinas by Latino Readers Magazine. Has won, and by Latino Readers Magazine, has one of the top 101 most influential Latinos, as well as Crane NY notable Hispanic leaders, among others. She serves on the board of Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement and is a member of the American Latino Veterans Association Advisory Council. Welcome, Silvana, and I believe that we're also going to kick off with a video first. So Dee, take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Silvana Montenegro, and I am the Global Head of Advancing Hispanics and Latinos at JPMorgan Chase. Latinos have and continue to drive significant impact on our economy and society across every field and sector, having played a critical role in building our nation and shaping its culture. According to the latest Latino Donor Collaborative GDP report, Hispanics account for 19% of the total U.S. population and contribute $3.2 trillion to the economy and GDP. Latinos also represent 1 in 4 young Americans. Today, nearly 1.5 million veterans in the US are Latino, and by 2046, Latinos will make up 16% of the veteran population. At JPMorgan Chase, we understand the importance of creating access to opportunities and promoting the growth and success of Hispanics and Latinos and all communities, both inside and out of the firm. Advancing Hispanics and Latinos is part of JPMorgan Chase's diversity, equity, and inclusion business, focused on helping students, employees, entrepreneurs, and communities thrive, helping to build a more inclusive economy for all. Our work is about impact. We recruit and develop talent for the firm across all levels, from students to senior leaders. We provide communities with financial health education and access to banking. We help propel the success of Hispanic-owned businesses by providing them with tools and connecting them to the JPMorgan Chase ecosystem. One of the ways we support the success of our communities is through strategic partnerships with national and local organizations committed to uplifting Latino success across all industries. A great example is the American Latino Veteran Association, an organization dedicated to furthering opportunities and honoring the indispensable contributions of Latino veterans and military service members. For more than a decade, our Office of Military and Veteran Affairs has been supporting this community, military spouses, and families. Since 2011, JPMorgan Chase has hired over 18,000 veterans and employs nearly 3,000 military spouses. We've awarded nearly 1,100 mortgage-free homes to military families through the firm's Military Home Award program, and co-founded the Veterans Jobs Mission, a coalition of 300 companies promoting the professional success and employment of veterans. And the work continues. Today, as we celebrate our community's pioneers of change, let's also celebrate the everyday heroes who are helping shape our nation's future. I am inspired by our community's achievements and leadership, and the trailblazers who are participating in this event. Thank you for all that you do. Muchísimas gracias.
We want to thank Ms. Silvana so much for that inspiring message. Next, I want to introduce 2 very special people for me, Mr. William Vargas and Tainicia Evans. We're going to talk about healthy swaps, and we're going to be talking about something that we, Latinos and Hispanos, love, and it's food. But let me tell you a little bit more about our next speakers. So Mr. Vargas is the actual president of the VA Hispanic Association here at the VA. He's a native of Caracas, Venezuela, and William's first language is Spanish. Despite the challenges he faced, he motivated himself to work harder and became a compassionate and caring individual. He proudly became a U.S. citizen in 1993 while attending college full-time from 1995 to 1998. In 2018, due to the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela, William and his sister filed for permanent residence papers to bring their parents to Maryland, where they now provide care and support. William has actively been involved in various committees and initiatives, including the National Hispanic Heritage Month Committee of Central Office, VA Next Generation Task Force, and the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA Community Prosperity and Partnership. William exemplifies dedication, leadership, and commitment to equity and inclusion, making significant contributions to the Department of Veterans Affairs and the community he serves. Ms. Tainicia Evans, she is a functional medicine certified health coach and has a Master of Public Health and a PhD, and is a PhD candidate. Ms. Evans is a functionality trained holistic health provider, whole health coach, and doctoral candidate in functional and integrative nutrition specializing in complex trauma and the healing process. She has over 15 years of experience in healthcare education, wellness programming, and project management, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to her role within the Department of Veterans Affairs. Tanisha is committed to enhancing the life of veterans through whole health initiatives, focusing on personalized, holistic care that address both physical and mental well-being. Her dedication to healing trauma and eliminating health disparities empowers veterans to reclaim their health and thrive. Welcome, William and Tanisha. And I believe we also have a video, so let's get started.
Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Today, I will be showing you how to make a healthy, traditional Venezuelan staple, the arepa. It's a versatile, gluten-free dish made from just 3 simple ingredients: harina pan, salt, and water. I will walk you through the steps, and we'll talk about the health benefits along the way. Arepa have a rich history, originating in the pre-Columbian Venezuela and Colombia. They were staple food for indigenous communities, and the tradition has continued. Today, they remain a beloved dish found not only in homes but also in restaurants across Latin America. Each region has its own twist on fillings and preparation method, making them highly adaptable. Here's what you will need: harina pan, a cup of water, a pinch of salt, and some vegetable oil for cooking. You can also add healthy fillings to enhance the nutritional profile, which will be discussed later. First, add water and salt into a mixing bowl. Slowly pour in the harina pan while stirring. This helps ensure the dough is smooth without lumps, giving the arepa a better texture. Let the dough rest for about 5 minutes. This allows it to fully hydrate, making it easier to form into smooth arepa shapes. The resting time also enhances the dough texture. Now, roll the dough into a small bowl and flatten them gently. Heat a bit of vegetable oil in the pan. Vegetable oil adds healthy fats, keeping the arepa crisp. Place the dough on the pan and cook over medium heat. Cook each arepa for about 5 minutes on each side until golden and crispy on the outside. This gives arepa a crunchy exterior with a soft interior, perfect for filling. Once both sides are brown, move the arepas into an oven preheated at 350 Fahrenheit and bake for about 10 minutes. This ensures they are fully cooked inside and give them a light, fluffy texture. Now comes the fun part, filling the arepas. While traditional fillings like ham and cheese are popular, you can make them even healthier by choosing nutritious ingredients. Avocado provides healthy fats, grilled chicken or fish offer lean protein, and beans or lentils are a fantastic source of fiber. You can also add fresh veggies like spinach or peppers for an extra boost of vitamins. Once your arepas are ready, slice them open. You can fill them with anything you want. For a healthy option, I recommend using lean proteins like chicken or beans and a fresh veggies. Today, I'm filling mine with ham and cheese. Arepas are naturally gluten-free, making them an excellent choice for people with gluten sensitivities. They're also high in fiber, low in fat, depending on the filling you choose, and incredibly versatile. You can easily customize them to fit your dietary needs. Thank you for joining me today. Arepas are quick to make, nutritious, and very versatile. They're perfect for any meal and can be customized with your favorite healthy fillings. I hope you try making them at home.
Saludos, William. You realize that you're doing this right at the lunch hour, and most people here are like salivating at this. So there's a couple of questions. I'm not sure if Tanisha is able to join. We're having some bandwidth problems, but I have a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions in the chat. So Shonda asked, when are you going to bring a basket of arepas to Vaco so that you can share those? And I'll let you and Shonda negotiate that over some time. But the question I have is, clearly you cook the food before you put it in the arepa, or can you allow the food to cook in the arepa?
Well, most of the time you use separate the filling. You do that separately. So what you do is you cook. If you're gonna do like a beef or a steak or stuff like that, you can cook it separately. Now, you could add maybe cheese inside, so it will melt and it will be inside the arepa. But most of the time, we just made the arepa by itself, and then you add the fillings, whatever filling you have. And because they're versatile, you can have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's what I did when I was growing up. So for breakfast, people put like maybe scrambled eggs and maybe some bacon inside, perhaps. Maybe for lunch, you have maybe put like black beans and a little bit of cheese. Nighttime, maybe you have a shredded beef and some other stuff like that. So again, and you can put a lot of stuff in there. And they got different names in arepa depending on the filling. One of them is called Reina Pepiada, which is a queen arepa, which is named after the first Venezuelan Miss World Beauty. And one of the guys over there said, we want to dedicate a arepa for you. So what they did, they make like a chicken salad with avocado inside, and that's called Reina Pepiada. And so they got other names like a pelua, which is more like a shredded chicken with a yellow cheese on it. So different things like that. We also got a domino. Domino means black beans and cheese on it. So that's what different people you put in there.
So I'm going to turn it over to Tanisha, who's going to give us the nutritional value of arepas. And again, the date and time for when you're bringing baskets of arepa over is pending. Thank you.
Okay.
Great morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that. Wasn't that video super amazing? So I am here. I'm a whole health coach, Tynesia Evans. I am here to help create some additional opportunity to support ourselves and support our veterans. So with the Arepas recipe, you can always take this opportunity to improve the health and wellness, the opportunities, and the nutritional density of this meal by optimizing the flours. So I know that the mix is traditional, but there's always an opportunity to add more. You can add some quinoa flour for some additional support of protein and fiber. Chia seeds, ground flax seeds, both of those are high in omega fatty acids, which are amazing for brain health, reduction of inflammatory responses in the body, and also cardiovascular wellness. Plantain flour as well, another opportunity for a little bit of sweetness if that's what you're looking for, or creating an additional opportunity for some blood pressure regulation and then heart health. With that modification, you're going to combine 1 cup of your traditional recipe, the cornmeal, and then 1 tablespoon of either quinoa flour, flax seeds, plantain flour, chia seeds, whatever your choice is there. Another opportunity to create some additional anti-inflammatory support, as William was discussing, is the types of vegetables that we include. So grilled salmon, greens, kale, today's National Kale Day. So including some kale, including some spinach, some collard greens in there. If you're into that, you want to get those vitamins A, K, and C, which are essential for reducing your oxidative stress, and then also supporting the body's natural detoxification process. What we don't know is that our bodies need to detoxify every single day. It's not something that you go on a diet or something else for. You don't do a juice cleanse. Your body is constantly detoxifying you. So any opportunity you can do to create to support that is going to be essential. So black beans are traditional and also high in fiber and protein. So you want to fill your arepas with all of these delicious things, the avocado, sauteed spinach, the salmon we kind of discussed earlier, which is going to bring us over into some glute healing support. Some gut healing support, I apologize. So our gut healing support opportunities would include, so first of all, let's talk a little bit about your gut. So your gut is directly connected to your brain and to your gut is through your vagal nerve. Your vagal nerve helps you to kind of helps to support your limbic system. So it's going to help you operate in the world. It's going to help you stay focused. It's going to help you stay awake at work. It's going to help you stay pleasant throughout the day. So you want to support your gut in every way you can. A fun fact here is that we are more gut bacteria than we are human DNA. So it's going to be essential for us to support our gut. So a couple opportunities without arepas to support our guts would be some sauerkraut, include some kimchi, create a type of salsa. One of my favorite is turmeric and ginger. So add a little turmeric and some ginger and some cilantro to your salsa, and you have something to support your gut while you're eating your delicious arepas. So creating a different type of salsa or using your salsa as an opportunity to enhance the nutritional density of whatever you choose to place inside of your arepas is going to be highly supportive of your body. So focusing on our mindfulness while we're eating, we're talking about cultural foods, we're talking about Latin culture, right? So arepas are an opportunity for you to eat communally. You're breaking bread with the ones that you love. This also helps to support your digestion and your brain functionality. So mindful eating, taking time to chew, focusing on the flavors, enjoying what you're eating, being grateful, being thankful for this opportunity to support these bodies that allow us the opportunity to take care of one another, to serve ourselves, to serve our veterans, to support one another. And then last but not least, hydration. So hibiscus, also a traditional drink, right? So that is going to be a great opportunity to consume with your arepas. You're going to get that good vitamin C. It's going to taste delicious. It's going to support this cultural experience that we are creating, these cultural foods, the celebration of Latin heritage, and then also chamomile and peppermint. These are going to increase the opportunity of digestion and promote relaxation, which is going to keep us from overeating, feeling stressed, not being able to prioritize nutrition in our bodies, and also allow our bodies to be supported as we're consuming this nutrition. So in conclusion, this is a great opportunity for you to enhance wherever you can while honoring traditional foods. And that is all that I have for you right now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, William and Tynesia. As you can see in the chat, we have a lot of hungry people, and I think that you guys are in trouble, and I'm going to have to make some nutritious arepas in the very near future. But thank you so much for the amazing information. It's definitely such a big component of our culture, the food, and also Tanisha, thank you so much for bringing that healing element. It's definitely very important. Um, so I'm very excited to introduce our next speaker this morning. Is Mr. Jerry Godwin. He serves as the a Veterans Business Specialist at the SBA's Office of Veterans Business Development. With 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, he has been instrumental in building entrepreneurship ecosystems and driving economy development. Fluent in Spanish, Godwin holds an MBA and is a Fulbright scholar. He has previously led venture-funded tech startups, achieving successful exits. In addition to his entrepreneurial achievements, Godwin has served in the U.S. Army as an aviation officer and helicopter pilot, and he's a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. His combat awards include the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and Air Medals. Godwin earned a bachelor's in science in nautical science from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and has completed graduate programs at the University of Maryland Smith School of Business and the Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. Mr. Goodwin, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome.
Thank you. Very pleased to be here. I am hungry from the arepa presentation also, and I've been drinking water today, so I hope I'm off to a good start. Excuse me. So should I go off camera and wait for the slides, basically?
Sir, you can go ahead and present as is.
Okay, very well. As we get the slides set up, my Latino background, my Hispanic background is from Honduras. So I grew up in central Honduras on a coffee plantation, and it's a busy life, even as a teenager, as a kid and a teenager, growing up on a coffee plantation. My brother and I had a lot of chores before school, after school, weekends, vacations, and so forth. But it was a great and wholesome upbringing. As stated, I'm very thankful to be invited again to this web series. I work with the U.S. Small Business Administration, which was founded in 1953. As you recall, what was going on in history in that time, there were a lot of veterans coming home from World War II and Korea. President Eisenhower established the SBA, and I can't help in 1953, and I can't help but think he had veterans in mind when he did so. 1953 was also the first year that President Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, started his presidential term. So it seems, that it was a high priority for him. That's my observation on that. So here we are with the slides. We at the SBA, can everyone see the slides? Over. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. Pardon me. So next slide, please. I'm happy to participate in the web series during Hispanic Heritage Month. U.S. small business and veterans and Hispanic veterans are an important component of it. Next slide, please. Here are some interesting facts about Hispanic businesses. Nearly 1 in 4 is Hispanic owned. We're talking small businesses and businesses contributing more than 100 billion in annual payroll and 800 billion to the American economy from 5 million Hispanic-owned businesses. That is significant. That is massive. As stated, we're an important component and driver of the American economy. Next slide, please. Here's some more facts and stats. 96% have stated that the military has helped them with starting their business. In fact, in attending conferences and talking to a lot of veteran entrepreneurs, it gives us a sense of having been a small business owner myself. So I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt as far as setting up businesses and hiring people and so forth. The military, after transitioning from the military, starting a business gives us another mission, another sense of purpose, and so forth. So the military skills translate directly to entrepreneurship. There is a challenge when it comes to access to capital. So as I had mentioned in the previous web series, in the Hispanic community, it's, if you recall from listening to our parents and grandparents, not owing money to anyone is a thing of honor, right? And here in the U.S., the more lines of credit that you have, the higher status that you have. So sometimes there's that dynamic as well. So a lot of Hispanic businesses are bootstrapped, cash basis. So, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any lending, right, for the more established, or for the second, third, fourth, fifth generation and so forth, Hispanic veterans, entrepreneurs. So what are we doing? So there is we do have some challenges when it comes to access to capital. So what is the SBA doing? The SBA is trying to mitigate and help with entrepreneurship and access to capital. So as mentioned, I work in the Office of Veterans and Business Development. So the office was started about 7 years ago, so that I have about 7 years of federal service and working with the SBA as well. So I was glad to join, and it's been a bit like a startup. Being part of the team that helped establish, or being there early to help set up the office, excuse me, and implement programs and grow them and scale the Office of Veterans Business Development. Next slide, please. So what are we doing, and what programs do we have? Our signature programs and flagship programs are our veteran business outreach centers. So these are brick and mortar locations that provide business technical assistance, financial literacy, and so forth to veteran entrepreneurs. So we partner with resource partners throughout the country. And we recently expanded from 28 to 31. So we just added 3 more, one of them in Puerto Rico. So we're very enthused about having a veteran business outreach center to help veteran entrepreneurs in Puerto Rico. That Puerto Rico office also covers the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I want to go and do a site visit pretty soon. So our Boots to Business are also tasked with organizing and delivering our Boots to Business entrepreneurship training program. It's a 2-day class which is taught to transitioning members of the armed forces. So as members of the armed forces are ETSing or transitioning out, And as part of the transition assistance program, there are several tracks. There's employment, there's education, how to use your GI Bill, and so forth, and also entrepreneurship. So Boots to Business is taught to transitioning service members. We also have Boots to Business Reboot, which is taught to veterans of any era as well. So the class Boots to Business is also taught to transitioning service members OCONUS as well, to bases all over the world. So more than 200,000, 213,000 plus have been trained in either the Boots to Business, B2B, there's another acronym for you, and our Reboot course. Next slide, please. There we go. There's the Boots to Business and the Reboot, Boots to Business Reboot. Next slide, please. We also, and we're very enthused, we're very happy that we got the public law changed to include military spouses just last year. We're now, so military spouses also have access to SBA and OVBD entrepreneurship programs. And there's a lot in that are setting up businesses in digital platforms as they transition from base to base to base, and even working with status of forces agreements to allow military spouses to be employed. Next slide, please. We also have, for example, after Boots to Business, there is a course taught which Mississippi State University manages and delivers. It's called Revenue Readiness. It's a 6-week virtual program. The prerequisite is you have to have attended Boots to Business or Reboot. So it focuses on lean startup, the business model canvas, and so forth. And these are free courses. Next slide, please. So here are some, what can a PowerPoint presentation be without bar graphs, right? These are just some of the breakdown for who's been taking Boots to Business and Reboot classes. And as you can see in 2024, the light blue is military spouses, where we've had military spouses also take Boots to Business. Next slide, please. More bar graphs and pie charts with demographics, but also at the bottom center, bottom right, the blue is the Hispanic, which is 15% or so are Hispanics. So next slide, please. So that's a significant percentage. We also have, aside from our Boots to Business, we have more in-depth training through our entrepreneurship training program. And we have 3 tracks: our service disabled veteran entrepreneurship training programs, and we do national competitions to award these. So what we're doing is we cast a pretty broad net, and we're looking for interesting service delivery models. It doesn't have to be necessarily classes or cohorts. It can be different service delivery models to provide entrepreneurship. So in the service disabled track, we partner with Veteran Entrepreneurial Resource Network in near Boston. We have Oklahoma State University Entrepreneurship Veterans Entrepreneurship Program, EBV. More acronyms for you in case you didn't have enough. We work with St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia and Warrior Rising in South Jordan, Utah, just not far from Salt Lake, which is my home of record, by the way. That's where I landed after I left Honduras at 17 years old with Salt Lake City. So the tropics and scuba diving, going to the beach, all that, to a place where it snows 5 months out of the year. How's that for a transition? So so we've trained over 7,800 service-disabled veterans. In addition, next slide, please. Under the women, so we have a specific track for women veteran entrepreneurs. We also do nationwide competitions to award these and go through a technical review process. So we work with Salt Lake City Community College. I do not participate in the evaluations. We get technical evaluation teams and panels from the SBA headquarters and the field. We have 68 district offices. So we're working with that's our newest resource partner, Salt Lake City Community College. We work with Syracuse University and the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. And what they do as part of their entrepreneurship training, is they host 2 national conferences throughout the country for women veteran entrepreneurs. So we've had upwards of 500, between 500 and 600 women veteran entrepreneurs attend. And it's growing. That number keeps growing. So we're pretty enthused. Also, with out in Tulsa, pardon me, we work with our Native American Business Network, ONABN. It started out as the Oregon, and then they moved to Oklahoma, and then with the help of our funding, they were able to expand their footprint. So the name was changed to include more areas. So we're very enthused to be working with the First Nations. There are other, for example, the Salt Lake Community College works with the First Nations as well in southern Utah and those areas to work with the First Nations. We're very enthused to be working with that constituency. Next slide, please. We've trained over 9,500 women veteran entrepreneurs. Can we go to the next slide and then come back to this one? This one's a little bit out of sequence. So the third ETP, for short, Veterans Federal Procurement. This is our only industry specific. We work with the Veterans Institute of Procurement here in Montgomery County, Maryland. The host or the parent organization to VIP is the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce Foundation. So basically, there's 3 tracks. So it trains veteran entrepreneurs to give them better tools to participate and win federal contracts. There is goaling, as you know, small business goaling for federal procurement. For service-disabled veterans, that goal was raised from 3% to 5%, as the number had surpassed the 3% and getting close, organically growing closer to 5%. So that was an easy goal to establish. We'll probably we'll surpass that goal probably in this fiscal year. So we have 3 tracks. We didn't go far for names: start, grow, and international. So there's a lot of federal procurement opportunities. International is our newest one. Is our newest track, as there are many federal opportunities available overseas, embassies, bases, USAID, and so forth. Next slide, please. Over 2,200 veteran companies have been trained through VIP. There's our footprint for the Office of Veterans Business Development, our national footprint for our resource partners, between our VBOCs, between our ETPs, and our Boots to Business Revenue Readiness. So it does not include our 3 newest VBOCs, as we just awarded those. The press release was, public press release was issued recently, so we will be updating our footprint map to include Puerto Rico, to include Pennsylvania and Ohio. So next slide, please. And then we have access to capital programs, the SBA. Basically, the SBA works with the banking community to provide loan guarantees, excuse me, so that banks will lend with more confidence and minimize their risk. If a bank is on the fence about making a loan, they can bring in an SBA loan guarantee, either 7A or 504, to be able to de-risk that loan and their loan portfolio. So we do have a microloan program. We work with community development financial institutions nationwide and organizations, community development corporations throughout the country. And those are funds that the SBA provides to these organizations. We have the military reservists, very specific to veterans, military reservists economic injury disaster loan, which if you are a veteran-owned
It looks as though Jerry's screen has frozen. I'll give him a couple seconds, but if not, we will move forward. I apologize for that. That's his contact information. If everyone can take note of the phone number and the websites.
Hello, I think I may have dropped off there for a second or two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can go
glad
back
to
if you need me to.
One slide, please. Yeah, glad to be
Yes,
back
sir.
on planet Earth here. So, yeah, so very specific. So if I'll repeat the military readiness economic injury disaster loan. Basically, if you're in the National Guard and you're a veteran entrepreneur in the National Guard and get activated and mobilized, this loan will help you rebuild your company. Or if you're a company or a business that employs Reserve National Guard and they get deployed, you're eligible for this loan as well. These loans are done on extremely favorable terms as well. The EIDL, there at bottom right, also available. This was a program that was used extensively during the pandemic. In fact, I was on a 6-month detail to extend a lot of those loans nationwide. We worked long hours to get those funds in place. And about a week into it, I get a call. Jerry, we understand you speak Spanish, and I proudly say, yes, I'm fluent. Great. You're also going to be, you're doing the loans. We're installing a program on your computer. You're going to be fielding calls in Spanish as well. So I'm like, happy to serve. So next slide, please. Okay, contact information, and then directly. And if you have any questions, I know that's a lot of information with the few minutes I've been given, but thank you very much. Gracias por la invitación. Muy amable su cordial invitación y muchas gracias por haberme invitado y por su tiempo en escuchar la presentación.
Gracias, Jerry. Gracias, Jerry. Gracias a ti.
Okay. Any questions? If not, I will turn it over, and please reach out to me via email at any point. Thanks.
Jerry, it does look like there was one question in the audience is ask, are there any virtual or satellite entrepreneur programs for disabled vets?
Yes, so we have one of the slides, all our programs are open to through SBA OVBD, but yes, we do. A lot of our resource partners have virtual platforms. We've encouraged them to do so to increase the footprint and the access. So I would encourage you to connect with the VBOC in the area or SBA district office as well. But yes, we have a lot of online resources available. So those online resources were even more. One of the benefits of the pandemic was that we all had to pivot quickly, right? So we didn't suspend any of our training. So we worked with our resource partners to provide online platforms to be able to deliver these programs and classes and resources over.
Right. Well, Jerry, thank you so much. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros y haber compartido esta información. Thank you
A
again.
sus órdenes.
Yes.
A sus órdenes.
Right. So our next speaker is Dr. Luis Rivas. Dr. Luis Rivas is a seasoned psychologist with over 20 years of experience, specializing in working with veterans diagnosed with spinal cord injury and related disorders. After graduating from high school in Puerto Rico, he migrated to the United States to pursue higher education, completing his undergrad and graduate studies in psychology at Purdue University, the University of Florida, and Southern Illinois University at Carbondale. Following his academic achievements, Dr. Rivas worked as a psychologist at Seton Hall University in New Jersey before returning to Puerto Rico, where he has been employed at the VA Caribbean Healthcare System in San Juan for the past 18 years, providing vital support and care to veterans and their families. When not dedicated to his professional responsibilities, Dr. Rivas enjoys live music, playing guitar with his daughter, and spending time with his family and pets. Dr. Rivas, bienvenido.
Gracias. So, hello everyone. Can you see me?
Yes, we
Good?
can.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Because all I'm seeing is a picture of myself. Greetings from the VA here in Puerto Rico. You already know a little bit about me, so I'm just gonna tell you all about how it is that I ended up how I got here. Like she said, like Monica said, after graduating from high school, I went to the United States to Purdue University. I was 17 years old. And what I wanted to do, or my dream was, I wanted to be the sports psychologist for the Puerto Rican national basketball team. That was my dream. That's what I went to school for. At the time, we were like number 4 in the world. Basketball is number 1 sport here in Puerto Rico. And I thought that I could maybe help with the psychological part. I didn't know if that position existed. I didn't know how to go about doing it, but that's what I wanted to do. And this was the prehistoric ages. This was before the internet and cell phones, and it was all with the typewriter and making phone calls and writing letters. And so that's what I did. I knocked on doors, I made phone calls, I wrote letters, and eventually they led me to a program in Southern Illinois University for my doctorate. And so there, what I did was I volunteered. I took on extra jobs. I knocked on doors. I asked for favors, anything I could to get experience working with sports, with athletes, with the teams, because this is an aside from your curriculum. And then, same thing at the University of Florida. Then I went to work at Seton Hall in New Jersey. And I kept doing that. I just kept asking for additional work, for experiences with the athletes, not knowing where I was going to end up. But that's what I wanted to do. So 2004, so 14 years later, I returned to San Juan, Puerto Rico. I returned home to work at the VA, which had nothing to do with sports, but at least I was in Puerto Rico, and so because I wanted to be the psychologist for the Puerto Rican team, so I figured that was closer to my goal. So I then worked with the spinal cord injury population, and there I learned about adaptive sports. And I started working with my veterans in their different events, athletic events. And I became involved with the National Veterans Wheelchair Games, which is the largest yearly event for wheelchair sports in the whole planet. Every year is in a different city. I've been going, I think, 9, going on 10 years that I've been going to those. And so I continue to keep in touch with sports and intervening. I volunteered, again, I volunteered for events and meets here and weekends. And eventually I ran into a friend of mine through luck who met in college. He went to school with me at Purdue. I hadn't talked to him since. And then he found out that he was a physician for the Puerto Rican national basketball team. And long story short, he set up an interview for me, and I ended up with the position to be the sports psychologist for the Puerto Rican national basketball team. It only took me 31 years since I left Puerto Rico to do that. But I kept at it. I kept taking on extra work. I kept asking for favors, doing volunteering, and eventually I was able to do that. And so then I start working with elite athletes. These are Olympic athletes. The Puerto Rican basketball team, both the men's and women's, they both classified for the Paris Olympics this past summer. So we're talking about the very top, at the top of their game. These are some of the very best athletes in the world. I've been with them for 3.5 years, a little bit longer. And, what I learned working with them is that you don't get there by luck. They work, they are disciplined. They put in the exercise at the weight rooms. They work through, they play through pain. They rehab their injuries. They go to France and Philippines and, and Mexico and everywhere looking for the different leagues to better their game. They try out. Sometimes they'll get cut and then they try out again. It's just a lot of hard work to get to be the very best at what you do, which is what the people that I work with. So they take their physical abilities, they're physically gifted, and then they just continue to develop that. And then I'm working with the spinal cord injury population, and the spinal cord injury population is on the other end of physical abilities, because these are people who have a hard time. Some may have a hard time walking. Some may not walk at all. They may not move their legs. Some may not move their arms. Some are in bed. They have to use, most of them have to use assistive devices, equipment to be able to walk. And but I've been doing that for, I've been talking to them for many, many years. And what I learned is that it doesn't matter what your physical ability is. If you have a goal, if you want to get out of your wheelchair and be able to take some steps, then you got to put in the work. You get up early, you got to go to your rehab, you got to do your exercises, you got to learn about your condition, learn how your body changed. You got to keep doing the exercises once you're home, and learn about equipment, how you learn about medication. Just have to continue putting in the work. The condition may not allow you to get to where you want, but if you put in the work, you're going to move along. These the people that I work with are very resilient people. And so it turns out for me that here I'm working with the people who are very physically gifted, and people who have a lot of physical limitations. And along with my experience here in the middle, as an average, person, and it doesn't matter what challenges you may have, as long as you put in the work and as long as you commit to your goals and commit, to pursue your dreams and, stay focused on what you want to accomplish. It may take you a year or two. It may take you a few cuts at the team. It may take you 31 years, like it did for me, to get to where I wanted to. But if you put in the work, you will you'll put yourself in a position to get to where you want. And so I was asked to talk here of National Hispanic Heritage Month. The theme is the pioneers of change and shaping the future together. And so how can we become pioneers of change and shape the future together? Well, what you need to do is do some soul searching. You gotta dig deep. You gotta figure out what it is that you want to do and commit to doing it, and just continue pursuing your goal, pursuing your dream. And Hispanics, the Hispanic population, minority population, sometimes in the United States, they are at a disadvantage, and sometimes it feels like you got to work twice as hard to get to where you want as compared to other people. When I was in graduate school, I was the only one that was Hispanic Latino. It was a small program. And I remember the Black students and the Asian students would tell me, Luis, you gotta look like you're busy all the time. You gotta always have something in your hand. You gotta always be going somewhere, and you have to always project to them that you are busy and you're working. And so being Hispanic in the United States can become a strength then, because it's an everyday practice for many of us, to without really knowing it, we're working and we're working maybe twice as much or more than what some other people may be doing. So how can we be agents of change? Well, like I said, you gotta continue to put in the work, and it doesn't need to be, we don't need to be, we all don't need to be Edward James Olmos, and we all don't need to be Gloria Estefan and Ricky Martin, and we can make change in our community. And I wanted to put some slides, of some pictures that I wanted to go by real quickly of some examples of that. So if you could put the slides, if I can figure out how to see them.
And sir, let me know. I'll share on my end if you are not able to share yours.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, stand by.
I'll go by these real quickly. They up? Okay. All right. No, not that one. All right. Here's some pictures that I've taken, or places that I've been in, of people who are making a change in their community. This is a veteran that I work with who has ALS, who is at his daughter's wedding, presenting his daughter with this family who is making a presence in his community despite the limitations that he has. And he has a lot of limitations, but it doesn't matter because he doesn't let that get in the way of what he wants to do. So next. And same thing, you can be a role model that's to your granddaughter, as in this case. While you're dancing on your wheelchair, you can be a role model to the band that's playing behind you. That's El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico, playing there at a wedding anniversary of that person. Next. Or you can be you can volunteer in your community, and you can be an agent of change in your community. Like this person, veteran, for example, teaching archery at the Coliseum to my daughter many years ago. Next. Or, you know, this couple who've been married for the longest time, but they don't let as well. They don't let their age can be a challenge too. They don't let their age or their physical limitations get in the way of pursuing what they want to do and making a presence, and so that the people around them can see them continue to move on with their lives despite whatever challenges they may face. Next. All right, so this person, this veteran, she has a paraplegia, and she went to the wheelchair games. This is at this year's National Veterans Wheelchair Games in New Orleans. The picture above is her last year, her first games, playing bowling in the wheelchair. And then we go to the convention center in New Orleans this year, and it turns out that there's a huge banner hanging from the ceiling with her picture on it, which was a surprise to all of us. But again, it turns out that she didn't mean to do that. She just did not let her limitations get in the way, and ended up with her presence there for everybody to see. Next. All right. So sometimes when you work hard, you can have doors open to you that you didn't think you were going to open. They were going to open, like, you know, like when I started going to school to pursue my dream, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it or not. I just kept, you know, knocking on people's doors and taking jobs. And so I'm taking a picture here. This veteran who I work with was inducted into the Puerto Rican Veterans Hall of Fame this past October. Because of her work in the community and advocating for veterans and advocating for adaptive sports. She's very involved in adaptive sports, and that was a big accomplishment for her. She didn't set out to be in a Hall of Fame, but that's what happened. Next. All right, or this person, for example, who is can only work one arm and wants to do archery. So he has a volunteer, in this case, I think that's his son, volunteer who will put the arrow on his bow so he can use the one arm to hold the bow and then shoot the arrow with his mouth so that he can play archery. Next. Compete in archery. All right, this is a video, so you can press the videos real quick. This is a person who doesn't have movement and is competing, can only move his head and a little bit of his arm, of his hand. So he is playing this event where a person puts the ball through the ramp, and then he uses a device to push it into the field. As you can see, he has a portable ventilator because not only do his arms and legs don't work for him, so the lungs also do not work because he has a high level injury. Next. Okay, this is another person playing the game of bocce ball. This is the same thing. This person has no movement other than his head. So he is competing by using his head in the event. This is a Paralympic event, by the way. It's bocce ball. And the official, who's also a veteran, has a double amputation, but still officiating on his wheelchair. Next. All right, and so this video is a veteran that I work with in an activity that I coordinated at the local swimming pool here at the VA. He doesn't have movement of his legs, and he has very limited movement of his arms. As you can see, he has very little muscle mass in his forearms. But he's learning, he's practicing scuba diving. So he's doing a technique where he can take off his mask with his wrists and then put it back with the little movement that he has. This is at the pool here at RVA. Next. All right, and I think this is my last picture. This is this past July, where, like I said, the Puerto Rican team qualified for the Olympics. It had been 20 years since we qualified, and this is what I set out to do 34 years ago when I left Puerto Rico to go to college. That's me on the left, on the far end with the white shirt, celebrating in front of 15,000 people in our home court when we classified for the Olympics in Paris, and that's our ticket for the Olympics. This is a very big moment for me because I worked most of my life to get there. So I wanted to share that with you. Because we're talking about being pioneers of change and changing the future. And I contributed a little bit for my team to get there. So I wanted to leave you with a story real quick about Francisco, who's a veteran that I worked with for many years. He had a high tetraplegia. He didn't move his arms. He didn't move his legs. He couldn't breathe. He had a portable ventilator that functioned as lungs. And so he would use a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, that he would control with the crown in his head, had the controls. And then he had a little screen here in front of him. And so he would press menu and move his head left and right and back. And then he would be able to move his wheelchair that way. That's how he got around. Francisco completed a bachelor's degree in administration of justice at the university here, including a semester of practicum of applied work at the local courts. He relied on public transportation. He utilized resources. He utilized the university disability service. He had the recreational therapist and the psychologist assist him. And then he took the LSAT and he got to law school. And he told me, I tried to complete college twice when I used to walk like you, but I was never able to do it because I was not focused on what I was doing. I was goofing off. I wasn't disciplined. Now I can't move anything, but now I've been able to finish my degree because now I set that to be my goal and I worked to get it and I accomplished what I set out to do. So, and he was an inspiration to all of the graduating class when he got up on stage in his wheelchair and got his diploma. And it was a very big deal, good emotional moment. And so what I want to leave you with is that we can be pioneers of change. We can shape the future together in our community, in our family, with the people that we work with, the people that we live with, if we stick to what we dream we want to accomplish, if we put in the work, if we utilize the resources that are available to us, the community. And if you don't quit, and if you stick with it, then you'll be able to become that, whether it be, working with a team, whether it be walking again, whether it be getting to the Olympics, or whether it be getting a degree, whether it be whatever you set out to accomplish, that's what you can do. So, muchas gracias. Saludos desde Puerto Rico. Y I've got all my little flags. Different Latin American flags. So thank you all for your time.
Muchas
Thank you, Dr.
gracias. Muchas gracias, Dr. Rivas. Le agradecemos mucho su presentación. Thank you so much for your inspiring words, your humbling words, and I definitely agree with you. Small or big, if we all work together and bring that change, we are with changing our community or bringing change to our communities, our families, we will be changing the future. So thank you again. Thank you very much. All right. So for our next guest speaker, we have Mr. Roman Palomares. Roman Palomares is the LULAC National President and previously has served as the LULAC Chief of Staff and Chairman of the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. He has been a member of LULAC for 40 years. He is also a distinguished national housing consultant, known for his unwavering dedication, service, and pursuit of excellence. Roman unique insights stemmed from his experiences as a Vietnam-era veteran and a retired federal executive. His commitment to hard work and determination led him to earn a Washington Fellowship and later a master's degree in public administration, paving the way for a successful career as a federal executive. After dedicating 40 years to 3 federal government agencies, Roman founded his management consulting firm, providing technical advice to local government entities across the United States. In this role, he teaches, develops, inspires, and mentors hundreds of local government and housing board members, all tasked with overseeing local agencies nationwide. Señor Palomares, bienvenido. Mr. Palomares, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Very good. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the VA. It's an honor for me as the National President of LULAC to be with you as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and reflecting on the theme of Pioneers of Change. So this month, usually for 30 days, we celebrate the contributions and legacy of Hispanic leaders who have not only changed history, but continue to shape our present day situations and our future. Every day, Hispanics are making history, okay? So throughout history, Hispanic pioneers have fought for justice, equality, and opportunity, paving the way for future generations like myself, Dr. Rivas, and a lot of our folks that we heard from today. Whether it was somebody like Cesar Chavez or Dolores Huerta, who actually fought tirelessly, for farm workers. We try to do the same thing in our daily lives. They made many sacrifices and they faced a lot of adversity, and they always challenge the status quo. And that's one of the things that I want to talk a little bit to you about today, because as LULAC, having members throughout the United States, also in Puerto Rico, también tenemos, we have a lot of councils in Puerto Rico. And that's what we do in LULAC. We're one of the largest Hispanic organizations in the United States. And we'll talk a little bit about LULAC, and I want to go through a couple of milestones. But I kind of want to follow in the footsteps of what Dr. Rivas talked about, okay? So pioneers, the pioneers that we talk about, they have not just been figures of the past, they have sparked movements, okay, that continue today. And I think some of those movements is what got LULAC started back in 1929. So let's talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But what I want to do is I want to do the same thing that Dr. Rivas did a few minutes ago. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how I think I became a pioneer of change, okay? I'd like to highlight a couple of parts of my life and how I got to be the national president of the largest Hispanic organization in the United States and some of the work that we do, okay? So I'd like to kind of just walk you through a couple of those real quickly. So who is Roman Palomares? Roman Palomares was one of 9 children who grew up on the south side of San Antonio, Texas, okay? Grew up in a little house, 2-bedroom house, 6 sisters, 2 other brothers. There was 9 of us in our home. And I went to Catholic school, and I put myself through Catholic high school by working, as a busboy. In 1966, after graduating from high school, instead of being drafted in the Army, I joined the Marine Corps. So hoorah for the Marine Corps. And those that are out there, some of the VA, some of the veterans there that work for the VA. As a Vietnam era veteran, Sergeant Palomares, when I got out, I went to work at Kelly Air Force Base as a mechanical technical specialist. In the Marine Corps, I was a helicopter engine mechanic. That's what I did. And then when I got out, I went to work at Kelly Air Force Base in San Antonio. They were one of the largest employers, and I got to work on B-52s that were going to Vietnam almost every day. We would work on those. As they came in, we'd work on them, and they'd send them back out. And that's what I did. So while I was working at Kelly Air Force Base, I was putting myself through college after I got out of the Marine Corps. And as soon as I got my degree, my bachelor's degree in social work, I went to work for the VA. I spent 3 years at the VA working at the Audie Murphy VA Hospital in San Antonio. I was actually one of the first social workers that went to work at the VA. I spent 3 years there working in a hemodialysis unit, working with patients, counseling patients. After 3 years, I got tired of writing doctor's orders, okay? That's why I left. No, we always had to work with doctors to make sure that the families were getting the assistance that they needed, and it was difficult sometimes chasing down doctors to get orders to make sure the families were getting assistance in the community because they were laid up. A lot of our veterans were laid up, and they were there sometimes for weeks in the hospital. So after 3 years of working at the Audie Murphy, I decided to leave because the Department of Housing and Urban Development at the time was actually recruiting Hispanics to go work at HUD, Housing and Urban Development. So I went to work for HUD. I got accepted, went in as an intern. And after 3 years at HUD, I applied for a program that they had. It was a Washington's Fellow program. And I went to Washington, D.C., and I got to work for one of the assistant secretaries as a special assistant. I spent 2 years in Washington, D.C. in 1980. And while there, I got my master's degree in public administration through the University of Southern Cal. And that's when my life changed. After I got my master's degree in public administration, I became a manager, went back out in the field. And after that, it was history. I spent 28 years with HUD and retired as their regional director for a 5-state area, overseeing 500 housing agencies and with 200 employees. But some of the stuff that I did at HUD as just as an employee when I first went to work with them, I was a union steward. I was a Hispanic employment program manager for their programs, kind of like what some of the HEPMs are doing nowadays, working with the agencies to see how they can recruit helped our agencies recruit more Hispanic folks and all that. So I did that. And I even joined LULAC in 1984 and became a member of LULAC. And even when I was a director at HUD, I worked my way through LULAC and became the Texas State Director and have been a member of LULAC for the last 40 years. So all that's been done, even though I was working for the federal government. So when I retired in 2004, 20 years ago, I became more involved with a number of organizations. And some of them included, most of them were nonprofits, and they were all in the military support area. So I did that for a number of years. And in 2014, the president of LULAC 10 years ago asked me if I would create a LULAC veterans organization. He talked to me about it and said, you know, I think there are organizations out there, there's VSOs out there, but it appears that when we go to these communities, it appears that they're not getting the help they need to. So let's create something, let's work with VA. And that's where in 2014, that's where I met James Albino. He and I together crafted the first LULAC MOU. And it was about us doing certain things and the VA doing certain things. And that's been one of the best partnerships that we've had in LULAC. So I want to thank James Albino for that great partnership. James Albino, I know, was there, and then he left, and then he came back. And since he's been back, we've been able to do a lot of things under the partnership. That partnership continues. Some of the most significant things that I have seen is, of course, we do a lot of workshops. We do a lot of stuff for veterans in the community. But one of the most significant things that I'm working on right now is to bring home our deported veterans. And the VA was able to help us during the COVID period when we were able to provide vaccines to our deported veterans. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But that was something that the VA was able to help us when we were given COVID vaccines on the international bridge. And that was due to the help that James Albino helped us with and folks that work with him at the Minority Affairs Center. So I publicly want to just thank them for that and all the work that we do. The VA always shows up at our annual convention, providing service to all our veterans, doing outreach work. So everybody in LULAC knows what the VA does and the services they have. So again, I want to thank the VA for that. So just real quickly, as I created this committee, the national president asked me, what is it that we can do as you, as the chair, the national chair of this LULAC Veterans Committee, what is it that we can do? Well, we crafted the first partnership with the VA. A couple of other things that we did, and I'll mention them real quickly, is during the time as chairman, I lasted as chairman for 9 years, but one of the things that came up during my tenure was actually the Vanessa Guillen issue at Fort Hood, where the mother reached out to LULAC and said, can you help us? We haven't heard from our daughter. So we quickly got on that. And one of the things that the national president asked me, he says, as national chairman of veterans, he says, would you have a problem if I issued a statement that says, mothers, don't allow your daughters to join the Army? Do you think we'll get the attention of the Army by doing that? Well, after we issued that statement, within 2 days, the Army secretary called us and says, I'd like to meet with you. And then after that, everything kind of changed. They did find the corpse of Vanessa Guillen, and we worked closely with the Army to make sure that a detailed investigation was done at Fort Hood. And there was a lot of changes at Fort Hood, but there was also a lot of changes with the act that we pushed and helped get that adopted by Congress. And of course, now we have the Vanessa Guillen Act. What was happening was, there was sexual assaults. Commanders no longer handle that. They now have a third-party investigative party that does that and handles all that type of work. After the Vanessa Guillen Act, another thing that we did is that a couple came to us saying that their son had committed suicide in the Navy. So they wanted to see if an act could be passed to make sure that a lot of the young folks that join the services nowadays have issues and they don't seem to get help because they're having mental health issues or just breakdowns of mental health, don't know how to handle that. So we worked with them to see if we could get what they called the Brandon Act. Doing the Vanessa Guillen Act, working with Senator Gillibrand in New York and a couple of other folks, we did the same thing, trying to push the Brandon Act. That was very important to us. We worked it the same way we did with the Vanessa Guillen Act, and we got that passed. One other thing that I wanted to mention under our Veterans Committee is that when we formed the committee, most of our members on that committee were not LULAC members. I was able to bring on members from the American GI Forum, the American Legion, Hispanic Veterans Leadership Alliance, Repatriate Our Patriots, Black Deported Veterans, and other organizations. One of the things that I learned in federal government is that you can't do everything by yourself. I believe in partnerships, and that's one of the things that we did in forming this committee. And it's been very effective. We continue to work with our partners. So we were able to accomplish 2 acts, and now we're working on the last one, and that is to bring our deported veterans back home. We hope that after these elections that are going on, that we can hopefully get some of that going. We're working with a couple of congressional folks, and we hope to get that into the NDAA next year under the National Defense Authorization Act. That's how we got these other 2 acts passed. We hope to do that. But I just wanted to, before I leave this subject, I wanted to just tell you that as a member of LULAC for 40 years, working for 4 national presidents as the chief of staff, learning how the organization works, being involved with veterans, and knowing how to do some of that. This last year, 10 weeks ago, the National Board last February asked me if I would be willing to take on the reins of the largest Hispanic organization. And I said, yes, I'll be glad to do that. I got elected in Las Vegas this last summer, and I am now the national president of LULAC. We are doing some things in LULAC right now. The other thing that I wanted to mention that we did under the Veterans Committee is that we got involved in the base renaming committee we got involved with the base renaming commission, where they were going to change names of bases. And one of the things that I do is I push very hard. When I get involved, I push hard. So we went and testified at 2 bases, one at Fort Hood and one at Fort Bragg. We were trying to get 2 of our Hispanic veterans. One was a Medal of Honor recipient, and of course the other one was General Cavazos. Roy Benavides was the other one. We were trying to get his name placed at Fort Bragg. We weren't able to do that, but we did get one of the largest Army bases named after a Hispanic, and that was General Cavazos. Fort Hood is now General Cavazos, and we were very happy to see that. As the national president of LULAC now, one of the things that I was able to do at this last convention is that we now have a national president, a national vice president for veterans. And our goal is to create as many veterans councils throughout the league, throughout the United States. Before I leave today, in a few minutes, I'd like to just let you know a little bit about LULAC, the organization itself, and a couple of things that we're doing. We are in 33 states. We have 265,000 members. We are a member-based organization. A lot of the other organizations that are around in this same space are not member-based. They have affiliates, okay? But we have members. And that's one of the things that helps us because we can get things done in different communities. We are in 207 cities. And like I said, we're in 33 states, but we have membership. We have councils, we have associate members, and we also have e-members that join LULAC just by being on the internet. And we have a lot of young adults in those areas that have joined LULAC. We have a lot of initiatives going. A couple of things that I wanted to mention before I hit a couple of milestones before we leave is that since I've come on LULAC, you know, we talk about pioneers of change. Even though I've been the national president for 10 weeks, one of the things that I pushed for when I got in is we created a PAC for LULAC. I think in order to get things done in this country regarding elections and everything else, you want to be involved, but we need to have, so we created a PAC. Within 2 weeks after I was national president, we created a PAC. It does not affect our C3 organization where we raise money, and it does not affect our C4. We created a separate super PAC, and that one is called LULAC Adelante. There's a firewall between our organizations. I was able to appoint our past national president, Domingo Garcia, as the leader of the PAC. And now he, within a week after they were created, they endorsed a presidential candidate, and the rest is history in regards to all the news stations that picked that up. And between that and the issues that are happening in Texas in regards to the government there in Texas going after Hispanics, and especially some of our members regarding elections, I went down to San Antonio, had a major national press conference, and between that major press conference and the endorsement of a candidate, LULAC has now become almost the #1 nonprofit organization in the Hispanic space, and we have achieved what they call, when it comes to national media, we have gained about $175 million worth of media with the almost 4,000 stories that have come out and over 100 interviews that we have done in the last 4 weeks. So that is one of the things that I think when you talk about pioneers of change, you don't have to be someone that's very significant, or like Dr. Rivas was saying, it can be just volunteers in the community. And that's the way I see myself, as a volunteer and moving the organization forward. The last thing that I wanted to mention, just real quickly, for those folks that are not familiar with LULAC, I wanted to just talk a little bit about some milestones. In 1929, we started LULAC. This February, we will be 96 years old. In 1930, we had desegregation of Texas businesses, where individuals were not allowed to go into certain restaurants, barbershops, and businesses like that. We changed that in 1930. In 1936, we had the Census Bureau reclassify Mexicans as whites, and that changed. In 1943, we had the Menendez versus Westminster, California. That ended segregation in public schools, because right after that came Brown, the Brown decision on desegregation. In 1954, Hernandez versus the state of Texas. That allowed Hispanics to serve on juries in Texas in 1954. 1957, we started the little school of 400 words that we thought were important for kids to learn. President LBJ picked up on that 4 years later. In 1960, they started Head Start, and that came from the school of 400. 1965, we started Operation SARE, jobs for individuals in the Hispanic communities. That organization still exists. 1968, we started MALDEF, okay? The Mexican American Legal Defense. LULAC started that. They are one of the major organizations that file lawsuits on behalf of LULAC. 1973, we started the LULAC National Education Service Centers. We have 18 centers across the country, and they are here in Washington, D.C. this week with 75 youth that they bring in for 3 or 4 days so they can learn all about Washington government. So we'll be celebrating with them this evening. 1975, we created the National Scholarship Fund. 1996, we started the LULAC National Institute. That is our 501c3, and we've been able to raise millions of dollars through that organization. In 2020, I already talked about this. We were able and got involved with the Vanessa Guillen Act. In 2022, the shooting that took place in Uvalde schools, we were able to raise $2 million to help those families. And we continue to work with Uvalde and those students, and those families that lost students. In 1923, we changed the name of Fort Hood to Fort Cavazos. And in 2024, under my leadership, we started the LULAC Adelante PAC. We also have under LULAC, I want to mention this because this is very important to us, is that we have the Federal Training Institute where we invite federal employees to come to our convention and get trained by senior executive service folks, SESers, GS-15s that come in and help us train. We invite all GS-12s, 11s, 13s to come, and we teach you the skills that you need to make sure that you can also become a manager too and learn those skills that are very necessary. So with that, I just, as I end my presentation here, I just want to thank the VA for the invite. And so I want to kind of reiterate what Dr. Rivas was saying, okay? So as we honor our past and present pioneers of change, let us also look forward. We must continue the work that they started. Let us be the generation that promotes education, mentorship, and inclusion. Let us nurture the next generation of leaders who will build upon the foundation laid by the pioneers before us. So let us remember that we stand on the shoulders of giants, pioneers who have opened doors for us, broken down barriers, and led the way. Let us honor their legacy, not only through celebration this month, but through our actions, and ensure that we continue to be pioneers of change.
Gracias, Roman. It's been a pleasure
Yes.
working with you this whole time. I'm looking forward to the continued partnership with LULAC. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Well, this concludes our event today. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Albino for close-out remarks. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon by now, I guess, for most of our participants. I want to thank all of our speakers for inspirational comments, sharing other people's journeys, particularly journeys that, we oftentimes look at our career path in short cycles, but we've seen from Roman's experience, from Dr. Rivas' experience, and others, the long path, the long arch of our history and our personal journeys. So I find all of those very inspiring, and I hope that you did as well. I want to thank you for taking out some time today to join us here. Certainly Monica, who's a great friend and participant with us and partner. And of course, the entire VAHA staff and members, and especially my staff, the Center for Minority Veterans staff, who put these terrific events frequently. And I do hope you were able to enjoy the arepas conversation, which personally, I'm going to take a break right now and go get something to eat. And I hope you all will as well. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.